Hello. Hello. All right. Hello, YouTube world. My name is Nicholas Montez. Welcome back to another YouTube channel, everybody. And today we're doing another little video. I want to discuss something with you all. One of the most anticipated MCU Marvel movies coming out in the future, possibly next year, is Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4, or whatever it's going to be called, Spider-Man Brand New Day, or something like that. I don't know. And while a lot of us are very excited for it, a lot of us are also nervous for it. Of course, I'm very excited to actually get another Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland's performance, especially looking back after No Way Home and the way his performance is going to be, showing a very alone Peter Parker and what that's going to be like. And there is one side of us that really want a street-level Spider-Man story where Peter Parker has to deal with paying for rent, going to college, having no interactions with anyone, and then at the same time having to be Spider-Man and possibly teaming up with Daredevil or stopping Kingpin or whatever. And then there's another side where Marvel wants to make this a multiverse movie, where he wants to team him up with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield again. And there's a lot of theories that because Avengers Doomsday comes out next year, that this movie will take place in between the battle world, the world that Doctor Doom is going to create with the multiverse and all that stuff. And we'll be getting a Spider-Man story that takes place between those two Avengers films. And if you were to ask me what film do I want the street level story where we see Spider-Man stopping Kingpin and teaming up with Daredevil, and dealing with the precautions of being Peter Parker but also being Spider-Man, or do I want to see another multiverse adventure? I'm going with the street level stuff. To be clear, as much as I like the multiverse stuff in Spider-Man media, of course, No Way Home was a fantastic Spider-Man experience, and the Spider-Verse films are absolutely fantastic. I feel as though we've never really done a great Spider-Man adventure movie, and also a Spider-Man adventure plus Peter Parker movie, where, even some of my favorites, like the original Spider-Man or Spider-Man 2, like, they're great, but Spider-Man, the original one, counts really more as an origin story. And Spider-Man 2 is really, like, the aspect of him fighting Doc Ock isn't quite as interesting. Yes, the action is good and all that, but the adventures of fighting Doc Ock isn't all that interesting. If you developed the villainy of that world a little bit better, it probably would. But, it's like, especially, I have a lot of thoughts on the, train fight, but, that movie is a perfect Peter Parker story. And that's kind of the thing. And what's actually so crazy is the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I would say they probably would be able to make possibly one of the best Spider-Man movies ever made with Amazing Spider-Man 3 or Amazing Spider-Man 2 if they were able to balance the Peter Parker stuff with Aunt May and protecting Gwen and the real emotions of that, but also balancing the fantastical elements of Electro and Rhino and Green Goblin and all that stuff. And I will say, they did come close to doing a pretty great job with Spider-Man in the MCU with Spider-Man Homecoming, where we're not stopping a big alien, we're not doing multiverse, we're not stopping Avengers threats. We're just stopping a guy trying to steal tech for his family, that's trying to make money for his family. And so they almost got it right. The reason why I don't consider that to be my top go-to film is because, well, the action's not really that exciting. And he's kind of still learning how to do it. And not to say that I need a experienced Spider-Man to do this, but I would definitely like the action to be a lot more better. Because you saw him in Civil War. He was literally fighting Captain America. He was helping Iron Man and War Machine wrap around Giant Man's legs. He's skilled at how to do with this, even though he's had these powers for over 6 months. But he can't seem to stop a guy with a shocker with a shocker gauntlet and vulture wings, that's kind of weird. And in my opinion, the only two types of Spider-Man stories that I've ever been able to tell great, Spider-Man adventure, but Peter Parker stories is the Spider-Man PS5 games and Spectacular Spider-Man. And that one is specific because that one you see Peter Parker in high school. You see all the relationships between all the people, whether it's Flash Thompson, Mary Jane, Gwen, Liz, Harry. You don't got Ned in there, but you got all the characters of Spider-Man's, life, of Peter Parker's life. But when you get into the Spider-Man adventures and stuff, it is extremely so much fun. It's so well layered, and all the action between that and the way, like, all the world building of the world in that show is so well built. And I just don't feel we've gotten that in a film as of late. Like, the best street level thing that I've seen is Daredevil. In my opinion, I think Daredevil the movie with Ben Affleck is possibly the greatest, best thing of a street level Marvel story. So that's kind of what I'm trying to say, like, and especially with a show like Daredevil Born Again, I think is also great, but I'm probably rambling a little bit too much long, but some other things I'm not as crazy for with this. So some other things to know about this movie is that this movie is also being directed by Dustin Daniel Cretton, which, if you don't know, directed the first Shang-Chi movie, and he's also directing Shang-Chi 2. And I'm going to be honest, since they are possibly going with the multiverse route, I do not agree for him to direct this Spider-Man film, because I wasn't as crazy for a fan of Shang-Chi. I liked Shang-Chi, don't get me wrong, the action is great, and if he sticks with Spider-Man 4, I'm pretty sure the action is going to be amazing, but I just don't think that he has the portrayal to do a good story there and end it properly. And, like, Shang-Chi had some great setups for stories to tell, but at the same time, the ending was terrible, where you have them fighting a dragon instead of the main conflict being father versus son, and then it just kind of ends with Wong calling Shang-Chi to do some Avengers business, and then they just go sing Hotel California. And the only thing that feels complete in that film is the stuff of Shang-Chi's sister. And I repeated this many times because I'm like, I want people to understand, like, what I am trying to say. And, like, yeah, I cannot get over that, because you introduce this fresh new character, martial artist and all that, and then you have him singing Hotel California. Why on earth would that ever be a good ending to your movie? Like, I don't understand that. Like, there had to be something else in here. But yeah, that's my thoughts. So yeah, I do not want Dustin Daniel Cretton to direct this movie. And if I'm being completely honest, there were other directors that were being casted to direct it. Of course, you had Justin Lin, who did some of the Fast and Furious movies, which, honestly, while those movies are pretty fantastical, the action in that films are pretty practical, so he could probably do good. But the directors that I personally want them to direct this movie I can't say their names, I don't know how to say them, but they're the directors of the last two Bad Boys films, of Bad Boys for Life and Bad Boys Ride or Die. And if I'm being honest, I think the last two Bad Boys films, besides all the big Marvel movies coming out, they're probably some of the best, like, action movies we've ever gotten in this past decade. Especially, like, Bad Boys for Life. It was such a fresh new take, and giving you so much basic, and then you get Bad Boys Ride or Die. It's extremely funny, but it's also extremely, like, action-packed, and it's so awesome. So, here are my reasons and why I think the Bad Boys directors deserve to carry on to Spider-Man 4, and why this should be a street-level film. But real quick, let me go ahead and edit my content chapters. Okay, so when it comes to story with this one, I think that this is probably going to have the most interesting story. I think with so when it comes to the directors of Bad Boys films, I feel like with these new directors, they actually what they did so interesting with the Bad Boys movies is they actually brought a story to them that mattered. Because you look at the first two Bad Boys movies with Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2, there wasn't really a story to them. It kind of was just a bunch of action and funny comedic moments with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. But once you brought in these new directors and they found a way to give you what you want from a Bad Boys movie, but give you a story that is emotional and makes you care about the characters. And just enough for you to care. And especially with them being much older, it's able to work a lot better with their performances. And with this one, I think that this could possibly be very experimental with the MCU of the Spider-Man character, as not only are we finally seeing that street level Spider-Man story that we all want to see, but we're seeing a different type of story, especially in the MCU. Of course, Spider-Man Homecoming got give us the tease of that, of what we could see with a street level Spider-Man and looking out for the little guy. This could be the continuation of that story where we get to see him dealing with street level crime. And not just dealing with street level crime and the threats are a little bit more smaller scale, but more importantly, what I think this story would be good about is showing Peter Parker dealing with trying to pay for rent for this new apartment he's living at, trying to decide on how he's going to trying to distance himself from all the people he's cared about, whether it's Ned or MJ, as he can't go back and bring him back into his life even though he really wants to, or even if he comes to new contact with new characters or something like that, he has to keep a distance. And with this story and the way they're gonna, if they design it, it would probably be one of the saddest stories because in both worlds of his life, it's gonna be very sad. Because on the Peter Parker side, he can't interact with anybody. He can't get too close or too attached with anybody because he knows he'll put him in harm's way. But with Spider-Man, and especially if they're gonna try to tie the events of Daredevil, if they do stick the Daredevil, if they do stick with the street level storyline and they try to tie this into the events of Daredevil Born Again with the vigilantes and Kingpin trying to hire these villains to go kill Spider-Man, it's bad for both of these, and it's a very emotional story that literally, and if they could decide to continue the corrupt plot line, I'm not gonna say they have to fight he has to fight a bunch of Punisher cops, but fight a bunch of cops that are corrupt and all that good stuff. It could be like this paranoid thriller in the MC that we've never seen before. I think it'd be so unique with incredible action, intense, and also getting a different type of Spider-Man action, getting a little bit of a darker Spider-Man movie, and but it's that whole tone is kept throughout the entire film. I would love something like that. Oh, that would eat so much. And but at the same time, Peter Parker kind of opening up throughout the entire movie and learning that he can do things, and that would be able to set up this trilogy really well. But at the same time, still being a great Spider-Man experience. With that said, let's move on to the next thing that I would love to see in a street-level Spider-Man movie, which, of course, are the characters. Now, as we're talking about characters in this film, it kind of really talks about side characters, like in Peter Parker's life, as well as the heroes that Peter interacts with as Spider-Man. So this is kind of interesting because a lot of people do not want MJ and Ned to come back because it would ruin, and him teaming up with Spider-Man, it would ruin the promise that was made at the end of No Way Home and how the choices were made in that film. I mean, they could be used as like a way to just for Peter Parker to interact, but keep him at a very calm distance. A lot of people are saying they don't really want to introduce Gwen or Harry yet, or at all. We heard some theories this week that, well, not theories, but it's been confirmed that there are some rumors that Sadie Sink is going to be in Spider-Man 4. People are thinking she could probably be a Gwen Stacy, which not really certain as to how that could work. If they try to actually do her as like the actual Mary Jane and MJ stands for something else and she's just Michelle, I guess that'd be okay. But if she's Gwen, I mean, sure, but I would definitely prefer much someone else as Gwen and her be our other love interest. But that if they do Harry and Gwen, that would be very interesting considering in with the Green Goblin, as well as what Andrew Garfield Spider-Man told him. When it comes to heroics in teaming up with Spider-Man, this it's kind of been popular because there's one side that want to see Spider-Man team up with Daredevil, want to see Black Cat, but it's also kind of complicated because most of Spider-Man's solo adventures in the MCU have always had an MCU character in it. Where Homecoming was with Iron Man and Happy Hogan, Far From Home had Nick Fury and Maria Hill, and then not only did you have No Way Home teaming up with the other two Spider-Man, but you also had him teaming up with Doctor Strange and fighting other multiverse villains. So it's a little bit weird that he just never has gone a solo adventure, even though in like Homecoming he's doing most of the stuff by himself. He's not really fighting alongside Iron Man. But, I think if they were to bring Daredevil and Black Cat in this, or Black Cat, whatever you want to do, I think it would be a good way because these are characters that are on Spider-Man's level. You think of Iron Man, Doctor Strange, they're very big characters. I mean, I guess you could say Nick Fury's a big character, but characters like that, the mainstream MCU heroes we've been spending a lot more time with, they're a lot more bigger, and they're not really on the same level as Peter. In some ways, they're probably better because Spider-Man was able to beat Doctor Strange with math. But characters like Daredevil, like, that's a street-level character, so he's able to partner up with him, not be a main standout. Of course, he's older and he's more experienced as being a hero, but he's able to be on his own level. And you're probably able to get the great Daredevil moments, but also have Peter Parker still be the main hero and have this partnership in this. And, that's one of the big things is that people want to see Spider-Man team up with Daredevil for a long time. And if anything, this could be the film to get it. Me personal, and if they continue this, throughout Daredevil Born Again, and if Kingpin's still not arrested, then I would still love to see a story of this. So, I would love to see what characters we could do. Maybe even bring in other street-level characters like Iron Fist or Luke Cage or all the other Defenders. Even the new White Tiger could do some stuff. All that good stuff. And even Punisher. I guess we'll just have to wait and see of what they could do with that. Next thing we're going to do is talk about villains. Now, when it comes to villains, it's a little bit interesting because a lot of the villains, like, people have been wanting to see Scorpion ever since that teaser in Homecoming, but we haven't actually seen him until we actually got a pretty good version of him in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. To be honest, I am totally down for them doing a Kingpin movie with bringing Kingpin as the main villain and him hiring just a bunch of classic Spider-Man villains. Scorpion, bringing in Vulture, but instead, sort of doing the Daredevil type thing where you brought back Bullseye. You could bring back Vulture and do a better version of him where the fight scene would actually be incredible. Or even actually do Scorpion. No matter how you decide to do it. Bring back a Shocker. Bring back a Vulture. Bring something in. I think would be very interesting. But also, something I wanna make about with the directors of the characters and villains is that one of the best things about the last two Bad Boys films that they've done really well is they in Bad Boys for Life they casted these characters. It had like Vanessa Hudgens in there and all that stuff, and it was like this group called Ammo, and they were basically like this High School Musical cops, if you will, and they're very fun characters as like they have these fun personalities and they get good in on the action, but they're not distractions to distract you from the real characters that we want to see. And they're just nice little spices to add something to the movie that makes it nice. And I really liked that. And if that's what they're gonna do with characters like Daredevil or Black Cat or whatever you want to do, I think that could work. And now when it comes to the villains, that's also something I like about what they did with the Bad Boys movies, is they actually make the villains memorable. Like, especially in Bad Boys for Life, where you tie in this villain with Mike's past, and not in that this La Bruja witch bitch or whatever is actually his long lost wife, and this assassin guy is actually his son that killed his captain and all that stuff. And it makes him for a compelling villain. And obviously, Wilson Fisk, we've been with him for years, since Daredevil 2015. So it's like, he's already experienced. I don't know what story we could tell with him, but obviously I would love to see him fight Daredevil and Spider-Man together. But yeah, I think the villains in Spider-Man 4 could work easily. And I think the last thing we'll talk about here is the action. And to close out this one, I think another reason why these directors should direct Spider-Man 4 is because of the action. Now, I think as the Spider-Man movies have gotten better, the thing they have gotten better with is action. And I think what they've been able to do is, Homecoming has terrible action. There's not a single fight scene I like in that movie. You get Far From Home, he's fighting a bunch of drones. It's very, explosive, but it's very fun. It's very cool to see Peter Parker, swing around and stuff. It's very cool. With No Way Home, I really like, because the action seems a lot more practical. You get to see Spider-Man, punching bad guys and stuff, something we've never really seen in a Spider-Man movie before. And so, yeah, it was fun. And I think one of the best things about the Bad Boys movies is they actually have had some pretty cool action. And that some of the action, it's pretty explosive. And especially, I think, in Bad Boys Ride or Die, there's some very cool action, especially in, the way the camera is shot, or, you have, these gunfights, and, you have it, close-up corridors, and it's like a video game. We could probably see something like that in Spider-Man 4. I mean, obviously, we've seen something like this similar in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, where we have, Andrew Garfield showing close-up shots of him swinging on the webs and stuff like that. So we've seen similar stuff like that. Do I want to see it again? Probably. I think it would be a cool Spider-Man experience. But, of course, I need to see, great Spider-Man, swinging scenes is what I need. But, and then, of course, I would love to keep that acrobatic Spider-Man, having him swing around, and also keep the action realistic, but find a way to be fantastical at the same time. I don't know how they would do it, because I think Daredevil Born Again, while being a great show, I think it's suffering a little bit with the action. So, I guess we'll have to see, but yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about Spider-Man 4. I want this to be a straight-level film so bad, and yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents I have to say about this movie. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed. If you like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.